There is something we buy throughout our lives without even realizing it. It has no box, it doesn't sit on shelves, and we can't hold it in our hands. Yet every single day, we all pay money for it. That product is debt. Debt is often described as something harmless. You take a little, then you pay it back. But the truth is nothing like that. Debt has been turned into the most profitable and powerful system in human history. Wars were financed with debt. Empires rose with debt, and collapsed with debt. Countries were brought under control through debt. And in the quietest way possible, the labor, future, and time of ordinary people were drained by debt. Yet most of us never stop to ask this. Where did debt come from? We never really thought about it. Who made it this powerful? And why is it at the very center of our lives? In its simplest form, debt is a promise. You take today, and promise to pay tomorrow. But hidden inside that promise is something critical: interest. Interest means selling your future today. Thousands of years ago, people were already aware of how dangerous this was. In ancient Mesopotamia, debts were recorded, but they were periodically erased. Because rulers had realized one thing. If people rot under debt, the system collapses. Even sacred texts include debt forgiveness. The logic was very clear. If debt gets out of control, it enslaves people. But over time, those in power learned something else. Instead of erasing debt, they began to use it. In the Middle Ages, the church banned interest, but bankers found a way around it. They presented debt under different names. During the Renaissance, banking families like the Medici gained power not with swords, but with credit. They financed kings and popes, and in return they didn't receive promises, they received influence. The real breaking point came with state debt. The Netherlands, and later England, sold bonds to finance wars. In other words, they mortgaged the future. When the Bank of England was founded in 1694, debt was no longer a temporary solution, it had become a permanent system. States were no longer borrowing to eliminate debt, but to constantly roll it over. And those who managed this system became indispensable. Then debt descended to the people. Factories were built with debt. Workers worked in companies financed by debt. And then debt was sold to them as well. To buy a house. To buy a car. To get an education. To survive. For almost every moment of life. Debt stopped being shameful. It became normal. It was even marketed like a dream. But the most painful truth about debt was this. It doesn't profit once, it profits continuously. Every month, the interest you pay is taken from you and transferred upward. For years. A 30-year mortgage turns a house into 2 or 3 times its original price. Credit card debt follows you everywhere. Debt is not short-term help, it creates a long-term bond. By the 20th century, debt had become the main architecture of modern life. The IMF and the World Bank began not only lending money to countries, but also deciding how those countries should be controlled and governed. Debt was no longer just money, it was a tool of control. In 2008, the system collapsed. But who paid the price? Those who lost their homes, those who lost their jobs. The winners were the same as always. And what was the solution? More debt. Today, the world is more indebted than at any point in history. These debts are presented as growth. But most of them are simply borrowed from our future. Debt is profitable because it requires no production. Only signatures, contracts, and time. Your time. And this system works as long as you remain in debt. That's why debt is not neutral. It is not innocent at all. It is designed not to free you, but to bind you. Real financial independence does not come from those who offer you easy credit. It comes from questioning the system, understanding debt, and minimizing your dependence on it. History changes, but the order remains the same. Debt enriches the creditor. It burdens the debtor. And it shapes the world in favor of those who control money. If this narrative gave you a new perspective, subscribe. History hides the answers, I'll show you where to look.